Welcome, everyone. Another edition of Mind the Gap. You might hear some driving sounds because my guest tonight is driving. Uh, so it also won't be a completely two-way connection. So we might hit into some snags along the way, but we'll try to do our best to make it a good conversation. My guest tonight is Montlakeman. So first of all, and that's what I forgot because I know who you are, but not everyone wants to share everything on social media. So I forgot to ask you how I'm going to address you during this talk. So just tell me how you want to be addressed, and introduce yourself a little. Tell us a little about you, and the main question, of course, what you believe and why.
Awesome. Peter, thank you. Been looking forward to this talk for a while now. Name is Nick, out of Seattle, Montlakeman. Had 1,000 different handles, all for fun. Not avoiding anybody, just using movie handles just because of its enjoying it, seeing if people recognize movies, start a conversation on it. And I am a biblical believing Christian. Yes, no denomination, just me and my Bibli.
Okay. So yeah, I didn't. I usually don't disclose anything without permission. I'm now getting that your volume is a little bit low, so I'll try to turn it up a little on my side. So this is the best I can do.
Yeah, you're coming in clear, so no worries there.
Well, I can hear you loud and clear. I'm not sure how it is in the live stream, but people will let me know. I put it up to maximum volume, so we should be good, I think.
Does it go to 11?
It doesn't have numbers, but I've got it up to the max, so should be fine.
Okay.
Okay, so you said you're a Bible believing Christian, but you skipped one part of my initial question, and that's the why, which I think is even more important than what belief you actually hold. So can you tell us a little bit about how you became a Christian? Were you brought up in a Christian home?
No, I
So
was
what happened?
not brought up in a Christian environment. Seattle is pretty liberalistic, atheistic community. I wouldn't say as much atheistic, more as a kind of a anti-theist agnostic community. It's a real different environment out here in the old PNW. So I wasn't brought up around religion per se within the family. We were more agnostics. Had been never talked about it really, but the why question, I got to commend you. A lot of people don't even want to address it. A lot of conversations I've had, they'll say the why question doesn't matter, but I deeply believe the why question is the question. Why are we here?
I agree.
Yeah, and I had some very good friends back in high school. They were Christian. I was agnostic at the time. The why question was always on the table. Started bouncing around, talking to them. Talked to some other people I'd mentioned earlier with SJ. Girlfriend at the time was an Orthodox Jew. Her family was very, 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 very Jewish. Shalom. But they were great people, and they got some encouragement to start looking into it. And I already had the interest in it, as I think we all do. And my friends that were Christian really started raising some good points. Namely, is if we are here, what is our purpose? What is our reason? What is our meaning for existence? You'll see me discuss this multiple times when we are in the Twitter environment, and people are flying out from the hip sometimes and whatnot. But I became Christian after really reading the Bible in depth and asking the question, if that really was God, why was he hanging on a cross? Why was he up on a piece of wood, broken, battered, and dying? And it's interesting. And Christianity just stood out to me because it's so evident that it's about God. It's not about us. You look around at all the questions, the why questions. Christianity didn't just answer for those for me. It actually brought up more amazing points of existence and who we are. And then all of a sudden at that point, the foundation was set, because what we discuss here, Peter, the real foundations of our argument are very simple. It stems from the why question. Either there was a creator who created this universe with us in mind, or he didn't. And there is no creator, and there's nothing. And from those, there's two different worldviews that simple foundational belief stems from. The atheistic worldview is a subjective basis. It says there is no God. We have no ultimate objective reason for existing. Whereas the theistic version, no matter where you go from there, you can go to all sorts of different religions. And that's where it just gets absolutely bananas. But the core is if there is a creator, then we do actually hold an objective purpose, value, reason, meaning. But anywho, I just kind of went off on a run there a little bit. That's how I became a Christian. It answered my questions.
Okay, what I'm missing in all of this is a little bit of skepticism, and there's also also something I want to address right off the bat, because you mentioned worldviews. I don't have a worldview. I think a worldview is a useless concept, because whatever worldview you have, it won't change reality. So you can adopt a worldview, but a blue car will still be a blue car and won't become a red bike. I mean, so a worldview to me is useless. And so the other thing that I might chip in is that you mentioned purpose. I mean, purpose is what we the purpose is something we choose ourselves. Um, it's what you want to do with your life. And to me, that's one of the most disturbing things in Christianity, because if the only sole purpose why you're here is to worship some deity who's supposed to be perfect, so he wouldn't even want to be worshipped, because a perfect being is perfect and has no needs or wants, so he wouldn't want to be
Well,
worshipped.
yeah, let me address the first part. Skepticism is good, but are we skeptical about a blue car being a blue car, as you mentioned, or 1 + 1 = 2? Are we ultimately skeptical? I'm not skeptical of a blue car being a blue car, or 1 + 1 = 2. I don't think you are. I mean, do we? I think we see the same. You know, how can I say this? I think we see the same values in the world. But again, it goes back to that foundation of it. You brought up just right now, why the Christian worldview, the value, reason, meaning, and purpose in it. I ultimately believe it's not necessarily to worship. God didn't need to create us. He didn't need to create us. He did not create us out of a need. He created us out of love. He is the essence of love. That is really what it means to exist as a Christian, is to love God and love others. I'll always point back to this, Peter, if you want to discuss Old Testament, totally cool with it. But
You hit mute. So you're muted at the moment. I can't hear you. Not sure what happened, but your microphone is muted now.
The
So
ultimate
we'll.
for existing. Go on ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, your microphone was muted, so I couldn't hear the last part of this. So let me address what I heard.
Okay.
You said not being skeptical about a blue car. Actually, I can give you an example that I am skeptical about it. I don't know if you've seen the colors they've been using lately. When you stand in front of the car looks kind of a orange gold, and if you then walk to the back of the car and look back at the car, it can look green or blue. Uh, so I
Right.
tried to
Yeah. The
figure.
kind of the metallic clothes.
Yeah. So I tried to figure out what color is this car. Turns out the car's black.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually, that is the color. What we perceive
Mm-hmm.
as being a color is just a reflection of some of the particles in the clear
Mm-hmm.
lacquer that has been painted over the black. So yeah, there is a reason
Okay.
to be skeptical. And when you say to me, well, if there is a God, he created us out of love, then I'll have to disagree right off the bat. Because
Mm-hmm.
if this God is omniscient and omnipotent, he created this particular universe on purpose. So that
He did.
means that right off the bat, he knew
Mm-hmm.
that Adam and Eve were going to sin. He knew that he had to commit genocide and start all over because he apparently screwed up with the first edition and had to make a second edition.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that's not love. And if you watch, uh, if you look at the Old Testament, he's constantly asking his followers to go to war and to kill and to commit genocide and to take slaves, child sex slaves. I mean, it is. It's just horrible that there's no love in it at all. There are rules laid down. You have to kill people if they work on the Sabbath. You have to kill people. Um, if a woman gets raped and doesn't scream out loud enough, she has to be killed. I mean, it's there's no love in it whatsoever. And even when you go up to the New Testament, the fact that the that he had to kill a guy on the cross just to meet up his own rules. He could have just said, "Well, everyone's forgiven. It's fine." He wouldn't have needed a human sacrifice to do this.
Well, one of the essences of God is he is all justified. So every sin can't just be swept under the rug and shrugged shoulders saying, all's
No,
forgiven. Yeah, there needs to be, if there is a justified God, then every atrocity that we see needs to be accounted for. It can't just be a shoulder shrug and given away. Um,
no,
there
I
needs to
I
be
agree.
justice. Yeah, yeah. So
I
God,
agree, but that brings up the problem. If it is justified, so you justify to me, why do I need to be punished for something one of my ancestors did?
original sin, dating back to original sin.
Well, that's the only reason.
I guess kind of the best way I could begin to answer this is, you know, is it loving to force somebody to love you? Is it loving to force somebody in your presence? I think the
No,
most loving thing that God ever did was he created us in his image. And that doesn't necessarily mean the physical. That means the spiritual of who we are. We are created in his image. And God part of that, he did not make us these moist robots. We actually have this incredible ability. We do have free will. We have this incredible ability to make these decisions on our own. And that is the most loving thing, is God does not force us. He actually loves all that is good does come from God. And he even still gives us the ability to choose whether or not we want to accept that. And that's a real heavy thing. I mean, one thing with hell, we're just talking about that discrepancy and, how could a loving God send somebody to hell? The vice versa of that is, why would an all-loving God force somebody in his presence that doesn't want to be there? But at the same time, all that is good comes from God. So if you reject all that is good, then you have put yourself into a narcissistic environment where it's just you. That is really what hell is. It's a complete separation.
I disagree.
You disagree?
Okay. The narcissist here is God, because if you don't love him, then you deserve hell. That's the only reason you deserve hell, by the way. You're not going to hell for any of the sins, because they are all forgiven if the Jesus story is correct. Jesus died for everyone's sins.
So should they accept it? Yeah, should they accept it?
Well,
it's here's the difference, Peter, and I kind of want to. This was something.
And you said, no, wait a minute. There's another thing I want to address is that you said it isn't moral, or at least somewhere at those lines, it isn't moral to force people to love you. So, right. Accept me or burn in hell, and love me or burn in hell would be exactly that.
Yeah. Well, there's two things going on there. Number one, we all live within sin, and you had addressed that with, original sin. Why should you be held accountable for the sins of your ancestors? My initial question is, the Ten Commandments in reflection to Jesus, everything in the Old Testament, I put into reflection to Jesus. All those laws, they started out over 600, and then they kept getting reduced down to 10, then down to 2, and then all of a sudden down to 1. And it was love through Christ. So that's what everything hangs on. Number one is love. But number two, with this morality, we have sin, and we have an all-just God. So we all do sin. We're not sent to hell specifically. Excuse me, let me retract on this. Two things. Either you reject God and accept your sin and try to pay your own wage. Salvation is a gift. That's all it is. What we try to do on earth to atone from our sins would have to be the wages of our work. You go to work for a couple weeks, you get your paycheck, that's your wages. God, there is not enough wage that we have that can get us into God's presence. We are sinners.
Why not?
Because he's perfect. We're sinful. The sacrifice would have to be
the reason that we're sinful is God's fault, not ours.
Mm-hmm. Did God force us to make decisions? These evil choices?
He created us the way we are, didn't he?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he created us with the ability to have free will. And
no. He didn't create us to have free will. If you read the Bible, free will is impossible. So it's either one or the other.
How is free will? I'm not following, Peter. How's free will not possible?
Free will is not possible if God knows every single outcome. Then I have no power to change anything.
But he can allow us to make those choices and still have
no,
free
he
will.
Can't. No, he can't.
Why not?
If he already knows the outcome, then no one is able to make any change at all.
Okay. So he can know the outcome. We cannot know the outcome and still make our free choices as being, but he knows the outcome. We don't.
We don't. We don't, but we also don't have the ability to change the outcome.
Why not? God allows us to. He just knows what the
No,
ultimate
we can't because he already knows it. So he can't.
Right. He knows and we don't.
He's even if free will exists, then even God doesn't have free will.
Why God can see you got I think you're kind of, it seems like you're putting God into abiding by his law and not the law abiding by him a little bit.
No, it's just logic.
Right. Well, you're dealing with a deity who all these laws of nature, everything abides by God's word. You know, you've heard me say this many times. You know, he is the lawgiver of the law. Time is under his power.
Yeah, well,
Everything.
I'm not convinced of that, and that's special pleading what you're doing right now. I mean, the only reason you have to believe this is, I think, that's how you interpreted the Bible. But if God is omniscient and if he's omnipotent, he can't even exist.
I'm not quite following there. That I think we got to go back to our foundations on
No, that's
why
mere logic.
question. Why wouldn't God be able to exist, but the universe is?
Because God didn't create the universe. If he doesn't exist and the universe came into being in a different way, it has nothing to do with any God.
Okay. Why? So I think we both agree on the Big Bang. I've heard a lot of people kind of go from singularities and whatnot. If we did all come from nothing, like nothing managed to create everything, how does that not fit the definition of a miracle?
Well, this is I think the topic that we fought over most. We fought over the video of Krauss.
Yes,
Uh,
Krauss.
yeah. So we'll have to define what nothing is. And I recently came up with an analogy. I ran it by a couple of people, and they all agree that that is a possibility. So
Okay.
the total energy count of the universe is zero. You knew that,
Okay.
right?
Antimatter, matter you're discussing. That stuff.
Yes.
Okay.
Zero is nothing.
Okay.
And
Like milk?
I can make a little analogy. Let's say you have a $10 overdraft on your bank.
Okay.
And you have $10 in your wallet. How much money do you have?
Okay. Like zero, right?
You have nothing.
Okay. Well, yeah, but the wallet exists. I exist. There's something there that can compute everything
No,
that's
no, no,
going
no.
on.
Now you're putting stuff into the analogy. I said if you have a $10 overdraft, and you have $10 in your wallet,
Okay.
you still have nothing.
Right, but
But
the
you
analogy.
have a $10 bill. You can hold it, you can see it, you can touch it. It is real. You have a $10 bill, yet you have nothing. That's
Right.
the analogy. That's the analogy of the nothing that Lawrence Krauss is talking about.
But do you
We
notice,
don't.
Peter, his analogy is dictated on something there to dictate that.
Well, he's speculating. That's why he doesn't say that is what happened. He says this is a good probability of what might have happened. We can't look beyond Planck time, so we cannot find out what happened before Planck time. So we also don't know what was there beyond Planck time.
Well, don't
And
you
there are,
find it a little fascinating coming out of even Planck time, everything, matter, antimatter? The chances of the universe existence. The singularity initially was light. Out of light came into matter, energy. Everything flowed out of there. Billions of years later, here's a rock floating out in the middle of the entire universe, and something pops on it, and after a while we establish morality and decide to go to the moon. That seems incredibly miraculous, not just from a mathematical statistical standpoint, but from, as you're explaining, that zero. if your wallet per se doesn't even exist and there's no money, nothing exists, how is all of that even capable of coming into existence without it necessarily being a miracle? Because all I can think of, Peter, is that the ability and capabilities of nothing is one thing, and that's nothing. I mean, it seems like our beliefs are both founded on a miracle. I believe that the miracle was God, and then the other vice versa is the miracle that there was no God. And I do believe that many atheists feel that there was something before that, that there's a faith statement of like, well, we can't see beyond the plain time, but maybe there was something there. Well, that's a faith statement, isn't it?
No, it's not. That's an honest statement, because we say we don't know. You say,
Right.
I do know. But you have no
So,
evidence. But you have no evidence for that.
so is there faith in that being of something behind there, possibly?
Yeah, that's
Like, do you
faith,
have faith?
and faith is useless. Faith is
Oh, I
useless.
don't think blind faith can be useless. I think evidence-based faith can be. We live our
Yes,
lives on it.
that's why I don't use the word faith. I'm an epistemist. I reject faith as being the most dishonest position you can have to assert
Now,
reality.
would you clarify faith? By faith, do you mean blind faith, or do you actually mean complete trust and confidence of someone somehow?
I mean the very concept of faith, because there are two meanings of faith. One is blind faith or religious faith. They are exactly the same if you look up the definitions. And then there's faith based on evidence, for which we have a much better word, and that is trust.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And if
With
you look
confidence,
and
right?
if you look in the Bible, it actually explains the kind of faith. And the kind of faith explained into the Bible is faith without evidence. The hope for things. I'm not. I still can't
Are you
remember
speaking in,
this. I'm
speaking
sure. I'm
Romans,
sure you'll. Yeah,
where we
I'm
have
sure
faith
you.
in the?
You can.
Is that the faith in the
you-
unseen? Are you speaking of Romans, where
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
we cannot? Yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah.
That
That is the
that's
faith that.
that is blind
Go on.
faith.
I can
Wouldn't you
truly
agree?
tell you that. I can truly tell you that my faith is not blind. I'm surrounded
Yours
by
may
it daily.
yours may not be. The one that you are dictated by the Bible to have is blind faith. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh gosh, no, not complete blind faith. I
Things
have trust and
unseen?
confidence in God. Well, I have trust and confidence in God, in Christ, because
You can't.
my personal experience. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's
You
been
can't.
dictated by this person.
You can't.
As, why can I not?
Because you have nothing to base that trust on. All you have is a claim, a huge claim, consisting of multiple books bound into one, called the Holy Bible. That's a claim.
Right.
That's not
So,
evidence. That's not evidence of a God. That is useless. It's a useless book until you prove that this God actually exists.
right, and that's what a testimony is, Peter. Is my life didn't get easier following Christ. I can tell you that it got healthier, but it didn't get easier. Um, that
That's
is the
that's
evidence, isn't it?
that's not evidence.
It's evidence to me. My
No,
life.
it's evidence that something changed in your life. What the reason was for this change,
Well, I
you
know the
have
reason.
no evidence. You have no evidence for that.
Oh, I do. My life. The evidence is through Christ. When I started following Jesus, my life didn't get easier. It got healthier.
Okay,
That's the
so
evidence.
so
Is
you
you got it.
so okay. Let's do a little recap about following Jesus.
Okay.
Did are you now hating your mother, your father, your brother, your sister, your
No,
children?
nor my strangers or anybody. No, anybody. I got to love all. And
So
actually,
you're not following Christ.
So, you're discussing what it takes, the cost of discipleship. If you want to look at Nabil, your former Muslim, he had to go through that because they hated him as Muslims when he became a Christian. That's what the context of that verse is. It's
It
not for me to go out and hate.
it depends on which version of the Bible you read. Some say disciple, some say follower. But I'll if that's not enough for you, let's go to slavery. You're pro-slavery, like Jesus was?
Well, you got to understand also on the context of slavery in that.
No, there's no context. There's no context. There are several verses that make it very clear that
Right.
Jesus is talking about one human owning another human as property.
Okay, let me help you with some of the
And
context here.
so a lot of people wiggle out and say, well, we're slaves for Christ. Well,
Right.
apart from the fact that even that is wrong, it's also not true. It's also not true because the Bible is clear. The Bible is clear about slavery as it being owning a human being as property that you can sell whenever you want and you can pass on to your children as a heritage in an inheritance.
Let's
So
points here real quick, Peter. The Bible depicts actually evil slavery, which is unjustified, and a certain different type of slavery. You will notice that the Bible doesn't talk employee-employer for, say, the verse, the borrowed slave.
The Bible explicitly says you can buy your slaves from the countries around you. What's unclear?
Okay. There's something owed in that, though.
No, there's nothing owed in that. You can buy slaves.
There is. I delved into this. It was such a major point, and it doesn't speak of employer. Look at it this way: the borrower is slave to the lender. Do you agree with that?
I'm not talking about indentured servitude, which is also mentioned in the Bible. I'm talking about explicit slavery that is mentioned in the Bible. So we can discuss indentured servitude, which is as immoral as slavery is, but there are specific verses. You can sell your daughter, and when you sell your daughter and she doesn't please her new master, the parent can buy the daughter back. And what is meant by she doesn't please her master is something that we all would agree on. If she's not good enough in bed, that's it.
Mm-hmm. Well, as a Christian, like, again, I'm not a Jew, but as a Christian, the context that I put into that is what is loving about
as a Christian. Is your Bible just the New Testament, or is it the Old and the New Testament?
Oh, it's absolutely. The Old Testament explains just how powerful God's laws, and the New Testament shows us that we are not under.
And what did Jesus say? And what did Jesus say about the Old Testament and about the Old Testament laws?
Here's what about the Old Testament: love God, love others. All the law of the prophets hang on these two commandments: is love. So, as far as the slavery goes, what's love?
No, you're wrong.
Well, that's Matthew 22:36, bud.
You're wrong. Jesus said all of the laws are to be upheld until everything is finished. We're still here. It isn't finished yet.
Right, but what he meant by finished, when he was on the cross, he said, "It is finished."
No, he didn't.
I think you got to say, yeah.
No.
Those were some.
So basically, you're a Paulinian. You're not a Christian, because what you're doing is you're following Paul. Paul said we can abolish the old laws; they are no longer valid. But let me ask you this: let's just assume that you're correct. So the Ten Commandments are no longer valid.
Well, no, they're valid to the Jew, but we're not judging. Christians aren't judged.
No, I'm not talking about Jews. To you, Nick, are the Ten Commandments valid? Yes or no? That's a simple question.
Well, I'm not judged on my ability to follow those commandments. I'm judged on my relationship with Jesus. The commandments are
That
fulfilled.
that was
That's what.
that wasn't my question.
Well, I'm getting to the answer on this. It's there's a fulfillment of the law that Jesus did. After Jesus died on the cross, I was no longer a slave to that law. I was now a slave to Jesus, as you were talking about the slavery, right? I am not judged on whether or not I follow the laws. That's not what gets me into God's presence anymore.
Okay, so
What gets me into God's presence?
we can now ditch the 10 commandments because they're no longer valid.
No, 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 no. If you love God and if you love Jesus, then what is loving about bailing on any of that law? Any of those commandments?
I'm asking a specific question, and you're tap
Right.
dancing around the question. And I know why you
I'm
are
not.
I know why you are tap dancing, because you already know that you now have a problem, because first you reject the Old Testament, and then you want to
No,
cling to it.
no, 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 no. I do not reject the Old Testament. I see it as fulfilled, Peter. That's what a Christian is. You're arguing from a stance that I'm Jewish, that look at the Old Testament, but you're dismissing Jesus and what he did on the cross. And when he said all those laws that we talked about earlier, there's over 600. Jesus narrowed them down to love God, love others. And
Okay.
that's it. That's Christianity.
Okay. So you're pro gay as well?
I love anybody. Listen, we're all sinners. I'm going to be real frank about this. I am
But
not pro. I'm
wait a
not
minute,
pro
wait a minute.
marriage.
Being gay, if what you're saying is correct, being gay is not a sin.
It is. It's a sin.
No, it's
Absolutely.
not, because you threw out the Old Testament just now.
How did I throw out the law of the Old Testament?
You
I'm not.
threw out the law of the Old Testament. I asked you specifically if the law was still valid, and you said no. I
It's
asked you
still
specifically if the 10 Commandments are valid, and you said no.
Peter. No, 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 no. You're misunderstanding. The law was fulfilled. I am no longer judged upon the law, but Jesus.
Okay.
Okay. So why?
If the law is fulfilled,
Right,
what do you mean by the law being fulfilled?
I am no longer judged upon the law to get into God's presence. It's through
Okay.
Jesus. Okay.
So being gay is not a sin.
Yes, it is a sin, and Jesus
No,
forgives
it's
me.
not, because you just said you're not being judged by the law.
But by Jesus.
Yes.
Okay. So Jesus forgives.
Are you aware that Jesus did not make one single comment on being gay? Not a
Jesus
single
was
one?
the law, Peter. Oh, absolutely. The sexual immoral. Here's the thing, Peter, is the whole gay that argument.
I'm talking about something he said. I'm not talking about something you want to attribute to him without any good reason. I'm asking you, is there any text in which Jesus ever condemned being gay? Because it
No,
isn't in the Bible.
Peter, he was very clear about the sexually immoral. And that's one thing
He
is
wasn't.
either I was an advocate.
I just told you there's no verse in the Bible where Jesus addresses homosexuality. Not a single one.
Peter, it's all over the New Testament. It's all over there, bud. I'm not.
I'm
Here's
not
the thing.
talking about all over the New Testament. I'm talking about Jesus. You are a follower of Jesus. So what are you now? Are you a follower of the New Testament, or are you a
Yes,
follower of Jesus?
I'm a follower of all of it, Peter. There's context to it. It's
No,
here's where
there's
I'm kind of
no.
on here to it. It's all
If some other people set up rules, then you have to deny those rules in favor of Jesus. You can't have both. You're either
well,
a follower of Jesus who did not condemn slavery, or you're not, and you're going to follow rules someone else has set.
Peter. I'm kind of chuckling here a little bit. It seems like you want to take out portions of the Bible and say, "Hey, look at this. Hey, look at this," but you're ignoring a lot of the major stuff. I take the entire Bible, all of it. So when we discuss Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John into
Now,
essence
so
of the scripture, and
if you take all of it, then we're going. Let's then we can go back to slavery.
yeah, but it's context.
So slavery is okay. Owning a human being
Peter,
and
Peter, Peter.
beating him as long as he survives for 2 days. If he dies the third day, it's not a problem. If you own a human being, you can beat him. And if he dies in 3 days, that's fine. That is Old Testament.
Okay. So on again, Old Testament, you're arguing Old Testament again.
That is a law. That is a law that Yahweh made. That is
Peter,
a law. No,
Peter.
I'm not letting this go. This is a law that Yahweh made.
Hey, bud, I'm trying to explain it, and you keep talking over me. Okay. Now
You can explain it, but you can't make it go away.
Peter, I'm trying to explain it, man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Can I go?
Go.
So the context of that, Matthew 22:36 through 40, Jesus brought all those laws down into two. What is loving about that?
Nothing.
If love is the law, if everything hangs upon love and Jesus, what would be loving about doing that to a slave? What would be Christian about that? Because it was Christians who followed that abolished slavery. It was
No, it was Christians who kept slavery, because slavery is in the Bible, and it says specifically that you can buy your slaves from another country. That is in the Bible, and that was what kept slavery going. We have history. We have documented history, Nick. You can't get away from this.
Oh, Peter, you misunderstand. Not all things that Christians do are Christian. Okay? What is loving about slavery?
When I talk to you, I can pull up one of I can pull up a guy that I know who would completely disagree with you on almost everything you said now, and would say that you are not a Christian. You would say that he's not a Christian because he thinks the earth is flat. So please don't tell me what is Christian and what isn't Christian, because you guys haven't figured that out amongst yourselves yet.
Oh my goodness, but we have.
No, you don't.
Just because certain people want to instill and alter things, that doesn't make it right. Jesus was, listen, I can be very front on this.
I can be very clear. The guy that I'm talking about, I'm friends with him. I disagree with him on probably everything that he thinks, because the earth isn't flat. But according to the Bible, the earth is flat as a pancake, resting on pillars, not held up by anything. You can go through the Bible and you can find out for yourself. So actually, he's more of a Christian than you are, because he is following the Bible to a T, whereas you pick and choose what you like. You try to explain away slavery. You try to explain away sex slavery, explicitly commanded by God. You'll do every single thing to get that away and say, well, Jesus said it's all about love. First of all, he didn't. He said, don't think that I came to bring peace to the earth. I came to bring a sword. That is the opposite of love.
Okay, well, Peter, what was the context in that? Here's the thing that it kind of shocks me. And I notice this a lot with modern day, and by modern day atheists, I mean the ones that go, look. They dismiss certain words of Christ, but then ignore the context of other words. And it's interesting because I see the same thing out of the Westboro Baptist people, and it's absolutely boring to me, right? So why
the Westboro Baptist people actually follow the Bible? They're doing it in a hateful way, and that hateful way is disgusting you. But they are following the same book that you read.
Peter, I got to be able to finish a thought, bud. I keep getting stepped on. I don't know if you can't hear me or whatnot, but I'll keep going.
It's the two-way, and I already said to you that I will interrupt if I want to clarify something, and the fact that you can't wear headphones, and we have to tell people that we have to be sorry. It's not a perfect two-way connection that we're having here.
Yeah, I agree with you. I've been trying to to get some points in on it.
And I get heated, and I do interrupt people. I'm guilty of all of that. And you are just now at a disadvantage because you don't have headphones. You can't interrupt me back. And I wish that were the case.
Oh, I don't want to interrupt you, Peter. I want to let you get all your thoughts and everything out, and then I want to respond all the way to the end where we can go from there. Because I will be working my way up, building to an answer, getting that structure, and giving you essentially an answer to the thesis on that. And then it's just getting top down right in the middle of it. But
okay. Let me just explain why I interrupt. If you go, if you have an answer, and your first premise is wrong, then your conclusion is by definition wrong. So when I interrupt you, it's just because your first premise is wrong. Then we need to go back and address that premise first until we can get to the next premise.
I love you, Peter. I'm even trying to get my premise out first.
Go ahead.
I get it. My premise, again, from the base, all these laws, everything that you're arguing for, these going, you're dismissing the Old Testament and whatnot. No, even, again, Matthew 22, 36 through 40, love. That's the one thing. Jesus, when he ascended in Acts, the final thing he said, love one another. Just love one another. And he was the law. And I want to be real firm on this. Like, getting back to the point I was going to make is I see the Westboro Baptists argue the Bible the same way and that the many modern atheists do. Why? Why is that? Why are people not looking at the Bible from the context of love, of that standard, that objective standard? Because
shall I give you an answer to that?
Yeah. Well, I want to even go back a little further. Because when we go back and we start talking about all these immoral things that happen, Peter, about look how bad slavery is and all this, when you use that term bad, what objective foundation are you basing that on?
Morality.
Right. Whose point of reference to morality is objective?
Okay, what's moral to me, and I can only talk about me, is that what's moral is everything that doesn't hurt someone else.
Okay.
And there are even, and that's not even a black and white situation, because killing someone isn't by definition immoral.
Okay.
Would you agree?
Murder is immoral, right? Yeah, an unjust killing, right? Murder.
No, no, I'm saying killing someone is not by definition immoral.
Are you explaining like a justified killing, just killing as is, versus murder, which is?
I'm just saying killing.
Unlawful killing. Okay.
I'm just saying
war. Are you talking about war? Like if
I'm talking about the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not kill. I disagree with that because that is immoral.
Right. Well, no. It's actually, if you look in the context, it's thou shalt not murder. The basis of the Hebrew word isn't just killing; it's murdering, and that's an unlawful killing. If you kill something unlawfully, right, then you're dealing with murder. If you and it's interesting. I've been learning a little bit of the old.
Okay. Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Have you seen the 10 Commandments put up anywhere on some kind of plaque anywhere in the United States?
You know, it's kind of funny, Nick. I don't. Do you know what's kind of funny, Peter? I don't. I have not seen it. I think that may be because I live in.
Okay, but you have heard of it, right?
The 10 Commandments.
I mean, it's easy enough to Google, and you'll get tons of pictures where the 10 Commandments are put up.
Right.
Okay. Does it say thou shalt not kill?
Or thou shalt not murder? What are you conflating to the context on that? Just saying.
I'm saying how it is mostly written out in the United States.
It's usually thou shalt not murder.
Okay. What is murder? Okay. I'll give you that. What is murder?
Unlawful killing. an unlawful killing.
I would disagree.
Okay. What is wrong with the definition?
Murder is when it's premeditated. That's it.
Well, actually, by definition, it's unlawful. If somebody is on trial and they have found guilty of something and sentenced to death, that's premeditated.
Yes, I know. But what about manslaughter?
Well, manslaughter is an accidental killing due to negligence.
I disagree with that definition.
Okay. Why? I'm really curious to hear. This is interesting.
Yeah.
Curious to hear your points here. Why is it a negligent killing?
It isn't. I just said it isn't. It's a spur of it's a spur of the moment action.
Well, it's a negligent action.
No, it's a spur of the moment. It's a spur of the moment action.
Yeah, based on negligence, if my understanding.
No, not based on negligence. There are several ways that you can come to that. It's not only negligence. Negligence is also in it. But it's not the only one.
Boy, Peter, I'm really not understanding on it. Will you do me a favor, since I'm on the road? Could you look up the definition of manslaughter? I'm really curious to just hear that flat out, if you're able to. If you're not, no worries.
I can, sure.
Yeah.
Let me. I'm juggling 3 computers here now.
And an iPad hidden in there somewhere?
No. I hate everything made by Apple.
Oh,
because it's not compatible with the software that I use, and that's pretty much the only reason.
Well, you'd fit in well in Seattle, our little Microsoft haven here.
Well, all the software I use is based on Windows, so I'm just stuck. And I'm an old guy, and it is very hard to teach an old dog new tricks.
Oh, my 2-year-old.
Okay, I found it in the dictionary.com.
Okay.
So
what's the first one?
The first one, law. In law, the unlawful killing of a human being without malice aforethought.
Okay.
And the second one is the killing of a human being by another, homicide.
Okay. That's the murder or the manslaughter?
That's manslaughter.
That's manslaughter. Okay. So manslaughter was, one more time on that first one. I want to get the words as accurate as
here. Actually, yours were in there. The unlawful killing of a human being without malice aforethought.
Malice aforethought. Okay, the forethought. That's where the negligence comes from in that. And the reason I bring that up is just I'm working level 1 trauma. We have a lot of murder victims come in. In fact, if you want to see something just horrendous right now, there's a kid out of Linwood who a girl died of an overdose, and he raped her and refused to drive her to the hospital due to that.
We have someone from the chat chipping in. Involuntary manslaughter is by accident. Manslaughter is no malice aforethought.
Okay, no malice aforethought. Okay, all right.
I mean, we're going off of a dictionary.
Okay, well,
okay. Yeah, let's go back and see if God is fine with murder. Didn't he in the Old Testament command to kill entire populations just over their land? Isn't that murder?
Yeah, but it was not murder because God is the law, so it was lawful killing.
So we have special pleading. God can murder, but we can't.
Well, God is the authority, and he's the author of life. He's the one who dictates the law.
It's a yes or no question. God can murder, but we can't, right?
No, God cannot murder. He is the law. So if God dictates...
God cannot murder?
No. God cannot murder because if he dictates a killing, it's therefore it's not unlawful. It's a
Explain,
law-abiding.
explain Noah's flood to me, please.
Okay, so a murder is an unlawful killing. So if God deems it somebody to be killed justifiably, it is not a murder because it is now a lawful killing. It's like if somebody gets sent to the electric chair for committing a crime, that is a justified killing. That's not murder. We have found them killed, and they are a punishment.
So God killing an unborn child is not murder.
No, it is not murder.
God killing a newborn child is not murder.
Why would it be murder if he's the law and the authority over it? And he's the author of life.
Yes, it's a yes or no question.
Oh, no. The answer is no. But I can explain that even on top of that.
Okay. So God can murder, but we can't. That's what you're saying.
No, God cannot murder.
Yes, he can, because it's the very same action.
No.
If God kills a baby that was just born, it is not murder. If I kill a baby that is just born, it is murder. Tell me the difference.
Are you pro-choice?
Let's stick to the question. Tell me the difference.
Well, this actually makes a really good point here, Peter.
No, because now we're getting into abortion, and we were discussing God, which is a completely different topic.
Well, no. It's interesting because
you just said God can kill a newborn baby,
and it wouldn't be murder.
And it wouldn't be murder.
You're saying that if God did it, it would be murder. I'm saying
God can order people to kill newborn babies. Still not murder.
Yeah, God wouldn't call anything that wasn't unjustified. Because you're doing is you're using the Amalekites as the
we haven't gotten to the justification. Ordering someone to kill a newborn baby, to me, there's nothing that would justify that. Not a single thing.
Well, let me get to that, Peter.
What would justify? Okay, let me ask you specific then. Let me ask you. Yes, I just want to keep it. I just want to keep it as short as possible. Give me the justification to kill a newborn baby.
Can God see the future? Does God understand the future? What could be? Yes, he can. So, in reference to this, the point I was trying to make is the Amalekites. These guys were worse than ISIS.
And they didn't have free will.
Let me finish.
I'm just asking, did they have free will?
They had over 500 years to repent. Okay? And they didn't. They kept on going. So God, at that point, he didn't just say wipe them all out. He wanted the animals wiped out as well. What is the context in that?
You are deflecting now from the question. I asked you to justify the killing of a newborn baby. Don't go to the Amalekites. Don't go anywhere. Just justify what I asked for.
Well, what are you using because you're using the Bible, correct? And
I'm not using the Bible. I'm an atheist.
Then what are you using as the reference point for God on committing murder? I'm a Christian, bud.
Yes.
It seems arguing right now for even the non-biblical God, which I'll stand shoulder to shoulder with you on. But you're arguing that God can commit murder when God is the authority over killing. If he is the objective, ultimate authority, and he deems the killing so, then it is 100% lawful.
By which standard? By which standard?
His standard. He is the ultimate objective authority. He owns every lick that is in existence. Everything is under his commandment. Not us. We don't command God what to do. God commands us what to do. So he is the ultimate.
So let's take it from that statement.
Okay.
In the chat we have a woman who I think is completely out of her mind because she heard God talk. Okay. But let's for just a second entertain the idea.
Okay.
Let's say tonight you hear God talk, and God orders you to kill one of your children, would you do it?
Well, I know it wouldn't be God. You're putting a hypothetical on Christ. You're
Um, as
Peter.
far I'm looking at what this woman told me. She said it was God, and I could know it was God because he was God. I still don't know how we get to that, but let's just assume for a minute that it is actually God talking to you and telling you you need to kill your child
Well, Peter, hold on.
because I see the future. You now need to kill your child.
Okay. Well,
You
what you're
don't
doing
know
right now,
this.
Peter, is
You don't know this, but I'm omniscient. You need to go out and kill your child. Would you do it?
no, because the God of the New Testament doesn't command that. So if something was coming of God telling me to do that, it wouldn't be the New Testament God. You're see, Peter. Here's the problem right now. You're presenting a God in your argument that isn't the Christian God. I totally agree with you. Okay, 100% agree with you that
Okay,
if God showed up and
let's
told me to
let's
kill
clear
something,
let's clear this up quite quickly,
okay,
because there's a statement in the Bible that you are now saying is 100% wrong.
okay, what's that?
The Bible states that God is unchanging.
Correct, 100%. He is objective foundation. That's where absolute truths come from.
So now we can stop about talking about an Old Testament and a New Testament God, because God is unchanging. If he was a malevolent bully in the Old Testament, he still is,
How so?
because
Like,
he's unchanging. Because he's unchanging.
he's unchanging, and from the beginning, law has been.
If he ordered killing in the Old Testament, he can still order killing now because he's
Why?
unchanging.
Right? Why would he order killing now, Peter?
Why did he order killing in the Old Testament? You're on mute. Uh, People can't hear you. You hit mute.
Of sin, before the wages of sin, because of the
Nick,
works of
Nick,
sin.
Nick, you have to start over. You were on mute. People didn't hear you.
Oh, well, the answer is pretty simple. It shows the severity of sin, that there was a punishment to be had. That's the answer right there. All those horrible things that happen in the Old Testament, they're all reflection on the severity of sin, the cost. It's bad. Sin is a bad, bad, bad thing. In our world, even the Christian society nowadays, we try to gloss it. That's not sin. That's not. There is a major cost for sin. And in the Old Testament, you look at all these just horrible things that happen. There was a major punishment to be paid. And the amazing part is God took it. He took that sin.
Okay.
That's a huge thing in Christianity, bud. He
Just,
always promises every.
okay. I have a question to address this.
Yes.
Um, do you have hair?
Oh, I have a beautiful, lush head of Norwegian blonde hair. I do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. That's a pity. Uh,
Yeah.
okay, let's entertain the fact that tomorrow you think I look a lot better if I do my hair the same way Matt Dillahunty does, and you're going to shave it all off.
Okay.
Yeah. Now people are going to make fun of you because you're bald.
Why would they make fun of me because I'm bald?
Because people do. People are silly. I have long hair and I've been made fun of, so it's something people do.
Okay.
Okay, what's the punishment for that if they do that?
For for like being, are they being horribly hateful and mean, or are they just like friends goofing around? I'm not quite sure on the context that you're. It's pretty
I,
general, right?
either
Narrow it.
one, either one. Take the worst. They're mocking you for your hair relentlessly, for having no hair, for having no hair.
What is my response to that?
No, what's the punishment for that?
For mocking, shouldn't be really anything for it. If they're being hateful, then they should probably
Not
start
death, right?
a person, right? Oh no, well, no, not for Christians. Absolutely not.
Aha. Now, actually, that's what God ordered. Not only
Right.
ordered, he summoned a couple of bears and had the children slaughtered for mocking a bald man. Don't you
Right.
read
Well,
your Bible?
yeah. You're discussing Isaiah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So they were actually young men. They had already had, like, if you look into the Bible, they had already had their bar mitzvah, which is when you enter manhood. And they're doing, and God, if I'm correct on this context, I'll have to look into it even more. If it's wrong, I apologize. But what I do understand with that is it was showing a severity of it, of mocking a prophet. Um, but it's kind of here's. Let me retract a little more. A lot of these arguments that you're
Wait a
putting
minute.
forth.
So what you're saying?
Hold
So
on,
what
hold on.
you're so
A
no no
lot of
no
these,
no. I
a
need to
lot of these
recap. I
arguments
need
that
to
you're putting
recap.
forth,
I need to recap.
Peter,
But
hold on.
I
Let me
didn't
finish.
understand.
A
I
lot
didn't.
of these arguments you're putting forth to me are for a Jew, not a Christian. Like, and it's interesting because it's a
Is it in?
very,
Is it in
you're
your
very,
Bible?
you're very poignant right now on Old Testament, and you're dismissing a major portion of the New Testament. I'm not a Jew. I'm a Christian.
No. Okay. So now we're back to, is the Old Testament part of Christianity?
Yes,
Ah,
absolutely.
so you have a Bible that doesn't have the Old Testament in it.
No, I have, but my every Bible that I have, Old New Testament, Genesis 1:1, all the end of Revelations.
Okay.
Okay.
So is the Old Testament part of Christianity? Yes or no? That's something I need to know now, right now, because
Oh, yes, it
if
is.
if it's inconvenient, you say, "Oh, but that was for the Jews." Oh, but that isn't doesn't apply anymore.
Well,
And
Peter,
if I
here's
ask you if God is unchanging, you say, "Yes, he's unchanging." So it applies.
it, as a Christian, what was so significant about the Sermon on the Mount?
I don't care. I'm talking about the Old Testament.
That's not a good
The Old
Peter.
Testament
That's
wasn't
not a good answer. That's
the
saying I
old
don't care. That is a
the
full dismissal of the context, bud.
let me ask you another simple question. Is
Oh,
Jesus
Peter.
No, let me ask you another simple question. Is Jesus God?
Yes.
Okay. So Jesus is the guy in the Old Testament who brought forth the flood, who ordered the killing of several populations, who
Yep.
ordered the taking of
Yep.
child sex slaves. That was Jesus.
Well, that was 100%.
He was also he was
All of it.
also he was also the guy who set up Adam and Eve to commit original sin.
Right. Well, I wouldn't even say set up. He gave us one opportunity in that garden.
No, he
One
didn't. No, he didn't.
one thing.
No, he
Don't
didn't.
eat of the fruit of that tree. And that was it. And we couldn't
Yes.
abide by the law. And he knew we were going to break it
Yes. Why did he know we were going to break it?
because we have free will and we're not. We make that decision. God allowed us. Let's go back even further. Why would
No,
God
no, 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 no. That
allow us
wasn't the
to
question.
operate?
Why did he know that we were going to break it?
Because we were made in his image and he gave us free will.
So now you're saying we're doing wrong because we're made in God's image.
No. We have free will because we're made in God's image. That's the gift that God gave us.
Yes, I know. If you don't teach your children the difference between right and wrong, can they make a decision on whether something is right or wrong?
Are you speaking of, to, is it in their heart? Do they understand what right wrong is without God?
There's nothing in their
That's the
heart.
question.
You have to teach them.
About right wrong? I disagree. I think
You
it's the
don't teach
law's
it.
written on all our heart.
You don't teach your children what's right and what's wrong.
Oh, we all do, but it's written on the hearts.
If it's written
If you
on the
have
heart,
somebody, how
if it's written on the
will,
heart, why do you have to teach them?
as far as like let me just ask this. Let's specify it down because it's such a broad question right now.
No,
That
it's a simple question. Do children know the difference between right and wrong when they're born? And do you not have to teach them? Or do
who's
you
right,
have to teach them because they don't know the difference between right
Peter,
and wrong?
Peter. Who's right and wrong are you referring to here? Are you referring to without God? Because everybody knows that murdering, killing someone just for fun, isn't a good thing, right? Or is it? Or is it somebody who
Have you
killed
come
for
to the
fun, but they now got
have you come to the point yet where you had to explain to your children where murder is wrong?
no, because
Has that come up yet?
they're not trying to murder each other, although they get pretty mad at each other over the Wii
When
sometimes.
when do you start teaching your children about right and wrong?
Well, when they start answering the questions, but out the womb, are you just discussing when one of my children smacks the other one over a board game kind of thing?
Right and wrong, period.
Peter, again, whose foundation are we using as right or wrong? Like this is a huge problem.
Okay, let's go into that. If one of your children smacks the other over a board game, is that right or is that wrong?
Whose foundation are we using in this sense?
I'm asking you. You have children. You just brought
Oh,
it
as
up.
a Christian, yeah. Oh my gosh, I got 4 kids. Um, yeah, I would have to sit them down, give them the whole lay down. It's not good, but they would feel guilt in their heart. Where's that come from?
You're not asking
Mommy and
you're not
daddy.
answering the question. Why would it be
I
wrong?
well, I'm trying to answer the question here. Where does the guilt in the heart come from, Peter?
I'm not answering any questions until you answer mine. Why
Well,
is it wrong?
that's where it comes from. That guilt in
It
the
should
heart.
be easy. It should be easy to answer. Why is one child hitting another over a board game? Why is that wrong?
Out of anger, out of hate. Hate isn't a good thing. Then they get punished for it, or they get talked to lovingly, as Christians should do. Then
You're talking about what you're going to do after it happened. I'm asking you why it is wrong.
I'm
I'm
literally
not
telling
talking
you.
about punishment. I'm
Oh,
not talking about
oh,
solving it.
are you wanting me
Why
to get
is
to the where I say it's because it's bad to who it happened to?
I
Like,
just want to
like,
give you I just
like
want to give
well,
me
what are we going through? I'm
because
not quite sure.
I need to know what your answer on this question is. Why is one kid hitting another over a board game? Why is that wrong?
Because it's a hateful act that's not loving. That's pretty much it right there. Do something unloving. That's
Is it always hateful?
well, if they're angry about something, and yeah, they're doing it out of hate. I can use an example. Playing Wii the other day. Right? One of our little,
couldn't they hit
I
yeah,
got a little bit of here.
wait a minute,
Peter, I
Nick.
gotta
Wait
be
a
able to
minute.
finish these
Yeah,
points,
but
bud. I
yeah,
gotta
but
be
we're
able.
now sticking. Yes, you had and you can, but just let me throw this in. You said it is hateful. Is it possible that one kid hits the other over a board game is just because the kid who is hitting is losing the game?
Yes, he did a hate. He did something out of hate that was not
No, no,
loving.
no, no.
That's
There's no hate involved here. It's just one kid losing the game and getting frustrated over it.
right.
There's no
If
hate.
you could let me finish, I can explain. What is loving about that, Peter? As a Christian,
I'm not asking about love. I'm just asking about why is an action wrong?
because it's not loving. That's the Christian foundation. If it's not loving, we need to work on that. That's if it's not loving and it's done out of spite, out of hate, any of that kind of stuff. The first thing I ask my kids is, was that a loving reaction?
So
Right away.
every action that is not loving is wrong.
Dude, I got to be able to finish some statements here, Peter. Oh,
Go ahead.
but
Go
God,
ahead.
let me. What is
I'm just heated. Go ahead.
I no, it's fine. I get it. That's the foundation of the Christian morality, love. So if my child, the first thing to do, what is loving about that? They love their brother, they love their sister. Right away, they're like, oh my gosh, I hurt them. That was not loving of me. Oh, dang, that was wrong. that's where we get with the kids. It's like we're teaching our children to love everybody no matter what, because as Christians, we believe we are all flawed. Okay? And we have to. We're going to be judged by God the same way that we show love and mercy to other people. That's very clear.
Okay.
Okay?
So hitting by definition isn't wrong.
Hitting by definition. What's loving about hitting?
I don't know. The Bible says you can hit your children with a rod, so that's supposedly loving.
Well, yeah, if you're raising a child, if you got somebody who's going over the top and they're not learning, absolutely spanking. The Bible's not calling for you to beat the tar out of your kid. We got the no-no stick.
I would disagree because according to the Bible, if your kid's not listening, you stone him to death. But that's another topic. We're getting in too much topics at the same time.
And Peter, here's the thing. I'll retract on you, and I want to get this real front and forth. I've tried many times. Again, all these things that you bring out, Jesus was so clear in this. It's just love. Here's all these laws. Here's what we have to do. This is the punishment of sin. But above all, we need to love.
Yes.
So this is something I see in the argument that I'm kind of seeing a flawed premise from you on this is it's this massive push of Old Testament law, Old Testament law, Old Testament law. But Jesus clarified that beautifully. All that law hinges upon love. Love, love, love. And all the way back to the beginning of our conversation. Why? This is why I became a Christian. All these things in the world going on. Christianity is true. Why was God hanging upon a cross, dying in the most horrible fashion?
Because that's what he wanted.
It was out of love. He didn't have to be up there, Peter.
No, because that's what he wanted.
He loved. He is the essence of love. We can't even touch how much he loves us.
No, I'm saying he was on that cross because that was what he wanted. That was his plan. That was everything that happened before Christ, supposedly, because I'm still don't even believe that the guy existed. So everything that led up to that
moment of him on the cross, where God poured out his
was God's plan. So he set up everything.
As far as setup goes, it seems that you're kind of having this envisionment of saying that God is evil because he set all these bad things up. But as an atheist, I would ask you, what foundation are you using that these are objectively wrong? See, that's kind of an interesting self-defeating / questionable double standard at work there on the atheistic foundation. As if there is no God, there's no objective right or wrong. But are you there, Peter?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay, sorry, I'm in the mountains right now, beautiful Cascades. But as far as like the morality, I absolutely love these conversations, because as a Christian, my morality is objectively believe that we are created God, whatnot. So that love is the objective right. But if there is no God, then there is no objective right or wrong in the morality.
So let's because we went way off the question. Let's go back to the question that I initially asked. Let's say God talks to you in a way that you can be certain that it's God, and he asks you to kill one of your children. Would you do it? Yes or no?
Peter, again, you're taking a hypothetical here and altering.
It's not a hypothetical.
It is. You just changed who Jesus is and stating that all that he had done in the New Testament is no longer valid, and he's asking me to kill my children, correct?
He's unchanging, so the New Testament didn't change anything.
It fulfilled the law, Peter.
It didn't change God.
Peter, what do you think fulfill the law meant?
It didn't change God. Let's say God has his reasons for you to kill your child.
Okay, New Testament, why? How does this match up with the God of the New
Is
Testament?
God is your God omniscient? Yes or no?
Yes.
So can God know something about your child's future that you're not aware of? Yes or no?
Yes.
Can he have a reason
To kill my
to
child.
to kill your child?
Again, Peter, you just presented that God is not
I'm
changing.
asking you a
So
yes or no. I'm asking you a yes or no question. Can he
and,
have a reason to kill your child?
and I'm giving you the answer. You just said God is not changing. I agree with you 100%. Therefore, if God was not changing, he would not ask me to kill my child based on the New Testament.
If God knew your child was growing up to be the new Hitler, would that for him be a reason to kill your child?
That would not match up with the New Testament, Peter. This
I'm
is
not asking what if it matches up with anything. I'm asking you if that would be a reason for your God to kill your kid because your kid would bring on genocide.
Peter, this is unbelievable, bud. Okay. This is a loaded question because the
It's
hypothetical that
not.
you're bringing, it is absolutely the hypothetical is you're changing the quote never changing God as the premise for this question. You're saying God, the New Testament God, would not ask me of that because he fulfilled. Let's go back to Abraham. Abraham, God
Now we're
wanted
getting
him.
back to the Old Testament because you need it.
No, because I'm showing the relation to the New Testament. Okay? God had Abraham take his son to the mountain to kill him. Right before that knife got brought down, he stopped him. He said, no, God will provide.
Yeah.
2,000 years later, God did provide for his son. It was done. There's no more that needs to be done. So if God
Ask Je-
came and told
ask
me to kill
ask
my kids, if God
ask
came
Jep
and told me to kill my
ask
kids, he would not be the God of the New Testament.
and
This
what did
would
he
be God.
do? And what did he do with Jephthah?
In which what point is this being made? Because right now the question is
Because
going
he
from
asked him
never changed God to God changes his mind and
be,
wants me to kill my kids.
because he killed his daughter because he promised God to kill the first thing that came out of his door. If he won the war that he was in, he would kill it.
Okay. How
And
does that relate?
God accepted that, knowing full well at the time that it would be a human sacrifice. And she was burned alive.
How does that relate?
God didn't stop it like he did with Abraham. He had her burnt.
Okay. How does that relate to the New Testament?
It doesn't relate to the New Testament. It's an action of your God. You're going back to Abraham. That justifies me going back to Jephthah.
So
So we're not going to measure with two different measuring sticks. If you
Peter,
go back,
because
to Abraham, it is as valid to ask you a question about Jephthah's daughter.
so are you presenting that Jesus would ask me to kill my children?
Jesus
Is that
wasn't
the
in,
question?
Jesus wasn't part of the story yet.
Right. Okay, but your question is today if Jesus Christ asked me to kill my children, would I do it? Yes or no? The
If
answer
Yahweh would ask you the
right.
question,
Okay, that's Jesus Christ. Okay, he's through the Old Testament as well. The answer to that would be no, because that wouldn't be Jesus.
okay, so no 10 commandments because Jesus.
They were fulfilled, Peter.
Yeah, no 10 commandments.
He
We
would
can
not.
we can now murder because it's fulfilled.
Peter, you're arguing for a God that isn't the God of the
No,
Bible.
you're trying to have your cake and eat it too, and
No, Peter.
that's not going to happen either.
Buddy,
Either
buddy.
the
You're
either
arguing
the
for
Old Testament is valid or it's not. If it's not valid, then you throw out the 10 commandments. You throw out the creation story. You throw out original sin.
again,
You
Peter.
have to
You're
you
arguing
have to
for
make you have to make a choice. Do you accept the Old Testament as part of the Bible? Yes or no? Because you're picking and choosing.
No, Peter.
And
My gosh,
you're making it
we're arguing for
worse by the minute. But just a few
no,
seconds ago,
Peter.
you go back to Abraham to set an example. I go back to
Yes,
Jephthah
to the
setting
cross.
an example. And when I go
I
back to
showed you the
Jephthah, you
example to
say,
the
"Well,
cross.
wait, Jesus."
I showed you the example to the cross. It all related to the New Testament. It's Peter, you're arguing as though I'm a Jew. Look, look, look. What if God did this? What
No,
if God
I'm
did that?
arguing
You're
because you
arguing
act like a Paulinian.
Bud, you're arguing against a different God than the one in the Bible right now. The questions
No,
that you're
I'm not.
are not for the God, are not Jesus Christ. They're not.
Let's
Jesus Christ.
let's clarify it one more time. Is God unchanging, yes or no?
No, he's not unchanging.
He is not unchanging. So the Bible
He is not unchanging.
the Bible
Okay.
so the Bible is wrong about that.
That God, no. Oh, are you gonna hold on? Going back to the Isaiah, I use the Old Testament to show in relation to the New Testament, right there. That Isaiah, or excuse me,
Does it
Abraham.
state in the Bible that God is unchanging, yes or no?
Yeah, let me finish. He's using Abraham, having to kill his firstborn.
I'm not talking about Abraham, and I don't want you to bring up Abraham. I'm asking you a specific question. Is God unchanging, yes or no? It's a simple question.
Yeah, no, I've answered that many times. God is not unchanging.
I have Christians in the chat right now. I have your good friend Stephanie.
Yeah.
Miss Delusion herself saying God is unchanging.
Yeah, God is unchanging.
So why were you tap dancing around?
Because the question that you presented revolves around a changed God.
If God is unchanging, he can ask you to kill your kid. So now we're back to the same question.
No, Peter,
Would you do it?
because that would be a changed God.
No, that wouldn't be, because he asked people to kill their children and he went through with it.
Where in the New Testament did Jesus ask for parents to kill their kids?
Did I say it was in the New Testament? Did I say that? Did I say that God was changing? Are you now saying that God is changing?
You're changing God, not me.
No, I'm not. I'm still
I'm
sticking to an unchanging God. I'm still sticking to a God who asked people to kill a kid and went through with it in the Old Testament. If he's unchanging, he can still ask that same question, and he can ask it to you.
No. It is finished.
Yes.
Jesus said it is finished. Therefore, there would not need to be any more killing. It's done. It's done. Therefore, God would have to go back on what he did. He would have to change. The premise of your question is a God that is not the biblical God. That's the whole point. Why not change God into something even nuttier? What if God?
Yeah. Why not take Jesus? Why not take Jesus for his word when he said, "Not a jot or a tittle of the old laws should be changed until heaven and earth pass."
But
did heaven? Wait a minute. Just a quick question.
You're discrediting the fulfillment. What again? Why was
Jesus said, "Not a jot or a tittle of the old laws will be changed until heaven and earth pass." Mm-hmm. Did heaven and earth pass? Yes or no?
Oh, absolutely. When Christ died on the cross, the splitting of the veil was gone.
Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that 2,000 years ago,
Peter,
heaven and earth disappeared, and there was and suddenly a new heaven and earth popped up? Can you tell me the verse that states that?
Okay. Am I going to be able to finish my?
You are, if you address the question.
Okay. The question, and I'm addressing it right now. The context of that had to do with the cross. Okay, it is finished. It is fulfilled. You keep ignoring this fulfillment, and then you go back to the Old Testament. Okay.
Okay.
And
Explain
you
to
take
me.
the old
Okay.
Peter,
Okay.
gosh, man, I didn't even get to
Okay.
finish.
Okay. I said okay.
I didn't even get to finish.
No, because I already agree. So there's nothing more to add to it. I agree with that. So let's do that.
But I gotta be able to finish.
It's referring to the cross. Explain to me how the cross is the heaven and the earth. Go ahead.
I gotta be able to finish. Even when you said I could finish, I didn't get to finish the last one, bud.
No, because you're tap dancing.
Unbelievable. Peter, you just said
Yes.
you'd let me finish, and then I went to go finish it, and then you said I'm tap dancing, so I don't get to finish.
I asked you when the heaven and the earth passed.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said, well, it's not the heaven and the earth, it's about the cross. So please explain to me how heaven and earth mean a cross.
Everything on the heaven and the earth, all that is bad on the earth will be accounted for. Okay?
That's not what the verse says.
I still can't finish. Unfreaking believable.
Yeah.
Peter, how are we going to have a conversation when you won't let me fully talk, bud?
We can't have a conversation because you're putting stuff into verses that isn't there.
Peter, you're not even letting me finish, so you don't even know what the end is going to be. Passionate. I get where it goes because really what's at stake here in my eyes is everything. I deeply believe that. And I honestly, Peter, I love you.
Sorry.
I'm not going to go without letting the truth get spilled out here from the Christian foundation, man. You got to let me finish. Please, please, please let me finish.
I don't know what happened, but somehow we lost something there in the connection.
I'm up in the. Can you hear me? I'm up in the mountains, right?
I can still hear you.
Okay, yeah, I'm just up in the Cascades right now.
I don't know if people can still hear us.
I don't know. It shows that we're still live. We've been on for 2 hours, so what did we max it out?
It shouldn't be the case, but we lost our screen. I don't have a clue why we lost our screen.
Do you want to reboot or?
No.
What would you like?
I'll just go and see if I can put it back up again. It's not working. No clue what's happened. No clue what's happened there. They still can hear us, so we'll go ahead just without the screen. No problem to me.
Okay.
So, and I lost complete train of thought here. You go ahead and you finish the point that you were making.
Awesome. Okay. So it had to do with the premise of the question. If God wanted me to kill my kids, or let's even one up it a little bit on that. What if God asked me to go and drop a nuke on some city, right? God wants me to kill lots of people. The answer to that question is no, because that's not the God of the New Testament, okay? All the law was fulfilled. Since he fulfilled that, if something was telling me to go out and do a heinous act like that, I would know that was not of God. That was not from God. That it would be something bad, something demonic, something bad, right? So and that's why I'm trying to point out with the premise of your question is you're saying God is unchanging, totally agree. That God, on top of that, would go back on his word, change, and tell me to go do something like that. See, God doesn't ask people to go do that anymore.
How do you know?
The law was fulfilled. Because the law was fulfilled. That's as black and white and as clear of a perfect answer as can be given. And that's kind of where I'm a little frustrated. It seems like the God that you're presenting, you're arguing for a non-biblical God. Which in that case there of the New Testament, Jesus wouldn't ask me to go out and do that. He wants me to love everyone. So that's a flawed question because honestly, Peter, that's not the God I believe in. That's not the living God. So on the premise of that question, that's loaded on that of going, look, what if the God of the New Testament told me to go out and kill all these people? Well, he would do that. So the answer is no. I wouldn't do that because that's something else. That's Allah is really what it's kind of arguing for there. I answered that as best I could there. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you for listening. Appreciate it.
Yeah. But we still have the same question.
What's that?
What's that? If God had a reason, to ask you to kill your child, would that be possible?
Require him changing everything in the cross.
I'm not asking. I'm not asking. My question is, could it be possible that God has a reason to ask you to kill your child? Could that be possible?
Speaking from the New Testament and Jesus Christ, no, that is not possible.
Okay.
So back on everything he did on the cross.
So he also doesn't have the possibility to answer prayer or whatever, because
yeah, oh, he absolutely has the ability to answer prayer. Yes, he does. Do you feel that? Here's another misconception I see of a lot of people, how they view prayer. They view prayer kind of, I said this before, as a genie lamp that they rub and God's going to grant them a wish that gets to come true. The point of prayer is that relationship with God. And if you're praying the way the New Testament says, with a heart after God, then your prayer is not going to be a one of, oh Lord, let me win the lottery. Your prayer changes and it says, thy will be done. But if your will encompasses this to happen, love you, let's do it, that kind of thing. That's a big, there's a lot of misconceptions, Peter, and it generally comes from a huge grouping of people that will see stuff in the Bible and they don't agree with it, so they want to change God a little bit, and they want to alter things, and it's funny nowadays because I look, people have painted Jesus.
You dropped off again.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, now you're back.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
you're cutting in and out a little bit.
I'm in the mountains. No, Jesus was murdered for what he said. He was an innocent man thrown up on a cross willingly. He could have got off there at any minute that he wanted. But Jesus, he didn't come constantly preaching lots of good stuff. He came constantly preaching repentance, the cost of sin, and he talked about hell more than anybody in the Bible, because he shows that it's the severity of sin. And I think the core of our conversation at this point was morality, and we're talking about good and bad in this point here. Well, what is good and bad? If there's no objective foundation for good or bad, then the guy who goes out and murders, a school full of children, he wasn't objectively wrong in that. And that's scary. That's a scary, scary thought. He was only subjectively wrong? No. You and I, we both know, Peter, that there is evil. That evil exists.
Yes.
But that requires an objective foundation.
There's a book full of it. It's called the Holy Bible.
Well, how's that objectively wrong if you're using a subjective foundation?
Oh, quite easy. Let's go to the flood.
Okay, but hold on.
That's genocide. That's genocide.
Okay, now
that is genocide. And what happened after the flood was that everyone just kept on sinning. So it didn't help anything. God saved 8 people, supposedly, who were the seed of all the new sinners to come. So either he wasn't omniscient because he clearly didn't see that coming, because otherwise there wouldn't have been any need for Jesus. But
So how is any of that objectively wrong if there's no objective foundation?
because it's hurting people,
Why is that objectively wrong?
because it's bringing harm to someone.
Why is harm objectively wrong, Peter? What makes hurting somebody objectively wrong?
It's not objectively, it's subjectively.
Right, but you said that the foundation was objective, but now you're saying
No,
that
no, I never mentioned the word objective until I just did it now.
Okay, so pin this point. I want you to go back probably about 2 minutes after we're done and listen to what you said, because you used an objective foundation on it.
No, I don't.
Okay, so then it was a stumble on words on your part, no big deal. So you're saying then it's subjectively wrong.
Yes.
Okay, then it's not objectively wrong. There you go. So it's
No.
just a matter of opinion. See, I believe that it is.
It's not only a matter of opinion. It's something that we form in our society. It's something that's beneficial to our survival. So it's an evolutionary trait.
Whose society is the right
That's
one again? Which society?
the society that you are in, and
Why
that's
my
different,
society?
and that's different for every single person on the earth.
Why weren't the Khmer Rouge society right?
The what?
The Khmer Rouge.
Everything they did was justified within their society.
Right. Were they objectively wrong in murdering people because they were educated, or was it
The
just a matter?
The Catholic Church supported
Right.
Hitler. I mean,
Oh, terrible.
yeah.
That didn't make the Catholic Church right, nor did it go along with what Jesus said.
Well, Christians do funny things, you know.
Oh no, Peter, I'm with you on that, but that Christians can do things that
Christians
go against
Christians tend to pick and choose, and in the past couple of hours you were an awesome piece of evidence of that.
Well, honestly, I didn't get to finish much of my points on that. It's
Well,
using a subjective
you
foundation on it again, bud.
you told me that the Old Testament was no longer valid, then used laws
No, it
that
was
were laid down, then used laws that were laid down in the Old Testament
but
in a single
why,
moment becoming valid again.
why are you not bringing up the
You break
fulfillment of the related?
you're breaking up. You're breaking up. We can't hear you.
That you're going back to, like,
Nick,
honestly, that I wrote my head off because it was answered.
Nick, you were breaking up. You were breaking up. We didn't hear a thing.
Yeah, just up in the mountains. Really, Peter, I keep bringing up that fulfillment of the Old Testament, and you keep ignoring it. I'm just curious why.
Yes, I keep bringing up that Jesus said it is valid until heavens and earth do pass, and we have clear evidence. We have stuff. Wait a minute. We have stuff on this earth that predates Jesus.
Okay. How does that any way sway away from the fulfillment?
You really don't get it.
Oh no, Peter. I mean this.
What does it mean? Okay,
You
okay. Explain to me. Explain to me. What does it mean for heavens and earth to pass? What does that mean?
Okay, for all that happened on heaven and earth here.
Not all that happened. Not all that happened. That's not the text.
Christ was on the cross for sins of the future as well. Okay?
I
So
know,
all,
but that wasn't my question. My
this,
question was simple.
this is
My
the answer.
question was no, my question was simple. What do the following words mean? Heaven and earth pass.
That sin can be prevalent all the way to the very end, and it's gonna be. That's why there's sin today. But Christ died on the cross for not just the sins of the past and present, but of the future as well. Okay? So when he fulfilled the law, I keep
Don't you
hammering
speak
this.
English?
Yes, he fulfilled the law.
Don't you speak English?
Yeah, he fulfilled. Peter, you keep rejecting the fulfillment. I don't know why. It's what makes
Okay,
Christian a Christian.
let's dumb it down a little bit. What does heaven mean?
In what in the post afterlife.
Okay, what does earth mean?
Nature, universe.
Oh, wait
Where
a
we're
minute,
in
wait a minute. Sorry, I was wrong. The heavens. What does that mean?
like post afterlife. Till the heavens of all the sin that encompasses is all gone, right? And it's
Are you
gonna be.
sure?
Yes, 100%. It's gonna be all everything
God
that we
created
just.
God created the heavens and the earth. What did he mean by that?
Well, there's three levels of heaven. You've got the heaven that God reigns in. Then you have the heavens of space that you can look up and see the heavens. Like which context are you arguing? Or this is kind of where I'm scratching my head a lot.
Okay, the context that I'm using is if he talks about the heavens and the earth, and then he talks about the heavens and the earth. What's different?
Well, what's the verse that you're referring to? Let's look at it in the entire. Let's read the whole thing. Are you referring to Genesis 1:1? In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
Maybe I'm a little bit too simple, but if I say a man and a woman and a man and a woman,
Okay.
the meaning doesn't change.
Okay.
Whatever context I get onto that, it's still a man and a woman.
Well, let me. Context
So
is
what
everything.
I'm asking now is what do heavens and earth mean?
Okay. Which verse are you?
Do they have a distinct meaning?
Yeah, absolutely. When I say the girl hit the boy with the toy, that's the exact same thing, but it can have dual meanings. The girl hit the boy with the toy, or the girl hit the boy who had the toy. Like, do you see that there's two contextual portions to that?
That's a different text because in the one you have a comma, in the other you don't.
Which text are you using right now? Which exact verse?
I'm talking no commas, no punctuation whatsoever until the full stop at the end.
Okay.
The heavens and the earth. And the heavens and the earth. Both. No commas, no punctuation.
Okay.
Only the
Which
full stop
verse?
at the end. What's the
Yeah.
difference?
But I can't answer this if you don't with Genesis 1:1. Like, which verse are you using right now? Because if we read the whole
I'm
thing,
not using any verse. I'm asking you if there are two different, distinct meanings to that, and which are they?
yeah, that you got one, the heavens, which refer to God, where He is, and then you have the heavens, like in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, which is space. You look out there.
Yes.
Okay, so when you're arguing this, I need to know which exact verse that you're using as context.
There is no context that can change it.
So when God refers to
Let's pull up the context. Let's pull up the context. In Genesis.
That's what I'm asking for.
Okay. In Genesis, God created the heavens and the earth.
In the beginning, so you got time, space, and matter. Boom.
No. Don't put stuff into it. You asked for context. The context is in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth.
So you got
The second one in context, until the heavens and the earth pass.
Okay. In the second, and
That's
what's the
all
full?
the context. That's all the context you have and all the context you need. Are we talking
No,
about the same? Are we talking about the same heavens and earth in both sentences? Yes or no?
until the heavens and the earth. Which is the New Testament one that you're going off of right now?
Oh, I'll have to look that up. So if anyone in the chat wants to help out, I'll try and look it up. If anyone has the verse at hand, please throw it out in the chat. It'll help me because I'm doing this on I'm flying solo tonight.
If you want, well, no, till heaven and earth pass. That's referring to that's referring to our natural state here. Okay, sin is all that's a reference to.
Why?
What do you mean why? Like why what?
Why do you interpret it that way?
Because that we live in a sinful world, we live in a sinful state, and that when Jesus went for, he fulfilled. Like again, back to the fulfillment. He fulfilled all the law. Therefore, we're not judged on the law; we're judged on Jesus Christ.
You're not giving a reason why you interpret it that way.
What Jesus said, it is finished.
Matthew 5:18. I'll read it to you. What version would you like me to read from?
Hold on, verify. Hold on, going back to
What Bible are you using?
I always use King James.
You use the King James. Okay, I'll go to King James. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, not one jot or tittle shall in wise pass from the law, till it all be fulfilled. Till heaven. Wait a minute. Till heaven and earth pass.
Right, and what's the last word?
I don't give a shit.
In that, Peter, it's fulfilled, Bubba.
I'm asking you about these first words. I'm not asking you about the end of the sentence. I'm asking you about till heaven and earth pass. What is meant by that? Because if you're saying till it all, wait a minute, let me finish. If you're saying till it all be fulfilled, then it's useless to put it in there.
No, it's not.
The only reason to put it in there, is that it means something different.
Peter, what? At the end of that, it clearly explains fulfillment. But listen, now you're starting to argue the Bible the way the Western.
The end of that, I agree. The end of that spells fulfillment. But you're tap dancing again, and you don't want to answer because you already know the answer and you know that you're screwed by now. Till heaven and earth pass. What does that mean?
All the sin of the world has been accounted for.
Till heaven and earth pass away.
That is what happened on the cross. Is all the sin of the world was fulfilled. It was accounted for. See, everything's going to end.
Did earth pass away? Wait a minute. Did earth pass away?
The sin has. Absolutely. It was accounted for on the cross.
It doesn't stay until sin passes away, and sin hasn't passed away because according to you, people are sinning today. So sin didn't pass away.
No,
so it can't mean that. It can't mean that. Until heaven and earth, pass away. Shall I tell you what that means? Until there is no more heaven and no more earth. Period. That's the only thing it can mean. And every single Bible scholar, is clear about this. That is what it means.
No, Peter, but the entire verse finishes, till all be fulfilled, correct? Or am I misquoting the Bible?
Yeah.
I don't have a Bible in front of me right now. I'm literally going off memory. Does it say till all be fulfilled?
Yes.
If on this, but does it say till all be fulfilled?
I'll ask you a simple question.
Oh, I just asked you one. Wait, does it say till all be fulfilled? I need clarity.
I already said yes 2 times.
Okay, I missed you. Apologize, didn't hear it. Then then the context is clear as day right there.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question.
Fire away.
Yeah? Okay. Until you arrive at your destination and get out your car and eat, no, wait a minute. I'll make it different. Until you arrive at your destination, get to a phone and tell your wife that you have arrived at your destination. She won't know that you have arrived. Correct?
Until she won't know that I've arrived. Yes.
Okay.
I'm kind
If
of
you
following. I'm not
okay.
quite.
Okay. I'm just asking if that sentence is correct.
But can she know that I am gonna arrive?
No, I'm asking you a question. Is the sentence correct?
Repeat it back one more time. I'm having a hard time.
Until you have arrived at your destination, got out of the car and called your wife that you have arrived at your destination, she cannot know that you have arrived at your destination.
Yes.
Okay.
I say that with a smirk on my face.
Okay. Is your wife accustomed to you lying to you?
No, not at all.
Would you lie to your wife?
No.
Okay. I'm just because those are attributes you say God has. He doesn't lie and he can't lie. Okay? So you just affirm those two.
Yep.
Let's say you haven't arrived at your destination. Can you call your wife and say, I have arrived at my destination?
No, I cannot do that. That would not be
Okay.
honest nor prudent.
Okay. If you arrive at your destination and don't call your wife, can she then know that you have arrived at your destination?
No, not correct.
Okay.
Pardon.
So what we now have established that in a sentence there can be two things that are necessary to come to a conclusion. So I'll read again Matthew 5:18 from the King James Bible. Till heaven and earth pass, not one jot or tittle shall in no wise pass from the law.
Right.
Comma.
And then
Till it all be fulfilled. So there are two things. All has to be fulfilled, and heaven and earth need to pass.
Right.
Are heaven and earth present? Yes or no? Simple question.
Did Jesus say that before he went to the cross?
I asked you a specific question, so I want you to answer my question and not tap dance around. Do we still have a heaven and an earth? Yes or no? It's a simple question. Look outside of your car. Is the earth still here? Look outside. I can't look outside because it's first of all it's dark.
Yes,
so
yes,
I can't see any. It's still here. Great. So the laws will not be changed. Thank you for finally setting the record straight. The old laws are still valid. That means that if you see someone working on the Sabbath, you have to stone them to death.
No, you just
According to
dismissed the fulfilled part.
Jesus
Dude,
in
Peter,
Matthew,
unbelievable.
according to Jesus in Matthew
Oh,
5:18. Go look it up. Go read your Bible.
Peter, he said that before he went to the cross, and it was fulfilled. He had reached his destination when he went to the cross. It was all
Yes,
fulfilled then.
one part is correct.
He had gotten out of the car.
One part we can bend and shape so it fits and
No, you're
say
bending it.
it all be fulfilled. Now
What is
the other condition needs to be met as well. And that is heaven and earth need to pass.
Okay.
Look outside your window and tell me if the earth is still here.
Okay. And Peter, I've answered that, so I'll still hear. What did God mean in that when it was the fulfillment of the law?
He said two conditions. One, heaven and earth need to pass, and everything has to be fulfilled. According to you, one of these conditions has been fulfilled.
That's the accounting of the sin.
One of the two.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Peter,
according to your God, according to your Jesus, before he was crucified, he made it very clear. Two conditions. Heaven and earth need to pass, and everything has to be fulfilled.
What had to be fulfilled?
Let's wait until heaven and earth pass and then ditch the old laws, shall we? I mean, it's a clear command from your Jesus. And I don't give a shit what you think. You said he was unchanging, so crucifixion wouldn't have changed his opinion about this.
What had to be
And if it would have, after his 3-day inconvenience, he would have come back and say, hey, wait, that's the little thing that I said in Matthew 5:18. Strike that from the Bible. Strike that from the Bible, because God is not the author of confusion. We need to take that out because people could misunderstand this.
What had to be fulfilled?
I don't care what had to be fulfilled. I already gave you that.
You didn't, Peter. What had to be
I
fulfilled?
already gave you that.
I know. I'm asking for some clarification of your understanding on this. What had to be fulfilled?
You are asking me to take a silly book serious and try and find new meanings in stuff we already know what it means.
Peter,
because if we keep changing definitions, the whole book ends up being completely and utter useless. You can't even read it as a story.
One more time. What had to be fulfilled? I just really want to know. Clarify it. What in the Bible, when it was referring to that, when Jesus said that it had to be fulfilled, what was he saying had to be fulfilled?
What had to be fulfilled is a myriad of things different to almost every Christian I have met so far, because every single Christian is interpreting it in his own way to justify what he believes to be true.
Yeah, I'm still not getting
that's
the answer.
the most honest answer I can give you.
Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. That was the law. He fulfilled the law.
Yeah, okay. So one person fulfilling the law. Great.
Yeah, he fulfilled the law. That's what that's everything. That's what he talked about. Till heaven and
what's the speed?
Every sin will be accounted for. Okay, till all this is gone, all the sin, boom, it will be accounted for. And guess what? That law, it will be fulfilled. Okay.
Oh, you're getting in a lot more trouble now.
But
because now you said all the sin.
Yeah. And he fulfilled that on the cross. He fulfilled the law on the cross.
So I don't need to accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior because I already have my ticket to heaven because he was crucified. Period. No one goes to hell. Correct?
Oh, are you there? Oh, there you are. Are you back?
I'm still here. You broke up a little.
Sorry, I was going through the flatlands. No, but it's a gift. You can reject it. That's what atheists do.
It's not a gift.
Yeah, it's a free gift. You don't
No,
have
it's
to have
not.
it. God isn't forcing it on you.
If it's a free gift, then I don't need to accept Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior because my sins are already washed clean. So I don't need to accept. So I don't need to accept Jesus for it. If it's a free gift, there are no conditions. If there are conditions, it's not a free gift.
So if I have a gift, I can force it upon you, or do you take it?
No. If you have a gift, you can give it to me and I can accept it without accepting the fact that you are my Lord and Savior.
Mm-hmm. Except the gift is Jesus as the Lord and Savior. That's the gift.
No, the gift was that Jesus washed away all our sins. That's the gift.
Right. And either you accept that or you don't.
I accept the gift. I don't see. Yes, I don't. But I don't
That's
see
awesome.
Jesus.
Peter, hallelujah.
Yes. Yes.
Accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior.
No,
Hallelujah.
That's not what I said. And you can twist my words, but that's not what I said.
Okay.
I do not accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior.
Then you do not accept the gift.
I accept the gift. I just don't accept Jesus as my Lord and Savior.
Jesus as your Lord and Savior is the gift, bud.
No. Jesus says he washed away my sins.
Right.
That I accept.
Okay, that's
To
the
me,
gift.
to me, that's fine. If some idiot wants to have himself crucified just to give me something, kudos to him.
If I gave you $1 million in cash, and you
Yes,
accepted
you
$1
still wouldn't be my Lord and Savior. I
right,
would have
but,
I would have a neat bank account, but you still wouldn't be my Lord.
okay. The analogy though is if you accept
And I wouldn't worship
cash,
you.
do you accept $1 million in cash, or do you accept $1 million in cash?
I accept $1 million. I accept $1 million in cash, and I still won't worship you.
Okay, but that's the gift. That's the entailment. You're missing out the point. You're trying, Peter. It kind of frustrates me a little bit because
we don't need to be Christians. We can all just accept the gift and be done with it. Thank you.
What?
That's what you're saying.
That's absolutely all. Listen, I love your pieces. But that's absurd. That's a terrible. Wait, you accept the gift, but you don't accept the gift. Jesus is your Lord.
No, you're changing the gift.
I'm not changing, bud. That's not changing.
You are changing the gift.
So the gift of Jesus Christ.
We have someone in. Wait a minute. We have someone in the chat. Heather Marie Schultz. She just typed, "Say thank you for sending Jesus to pay the penalty for my sin." Okay, someone paid the penalty for my sin.
Okay. Do you accept?
That I accept.
Hold on.
That I accept. I don't care who did it. I don't care who did it.
That's Peter. Listen.
And I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less about the person who did it. If they want to give me that, great.
Why don't you care about where the gift comes from, Peter?
Why would I?
Because it's out of love.
Yeah. Well,
Peter, you're right on the cusp, bud.
You have a completely different concept of love, because love to me is unconditional. To you, love is conditional. Love or go to hell.
Do you let me just kind of simplify a little bit. Do you want to be in God's presence?
Oh no. I I pretty much convinced that I don't want to be in the presence of any psychopath,
Okay. Okay.
sociopath.
Okay.
Those are usually the people that I steer clear from.
Okay.
Well clear.
So you believe God's a sociopath and you do not want to be in his presence.
According to the Bible, he is. We all can read, can't we?
Could you be wrong on everything in the Bible?
He's killing people left, right, and center, and then he started it all off by having two people having no concept of right and wrong, punishing them for doing something wrong. I mean, he set it all up. From the very first act in the Bible, it is clear that this guy is mentally ill.
Could you be wrong on all this, Peter?
No, I couldn't be, because we know what the Bible says, and we know about morality, and we know that we do not punish people for things they could not know.
So you couldn't be wrong, so you're claiming that you have infinite knowledge on this.
No, I don't need infinite knowledge on this.
You do to make a claim that you know you're not wrong on it. See, when you say that there is no God, you make an infinite knowledge claim that you know all that.
I don't need to know all of it. What I need to know is that if I am not aware of a certain thing, I cannot be punished for this thing. That's all I need to know.
You know what we need? We need a radio show, Peter.
Well, listen. Let's at least get to some positive things.
Oh, Peter, I love you,
We
man.
had we had interactions on Twitter that didn't end well. We have now been talking for 2 hours and 15 minutes, and we still can talk to each other as being just decent people. Am I correct?
Oh, Peter, absolutely, man. I love you. I really
Okay.
do.
Okay.
I really do.
So what we have achieved now is that we're not completely enemies anymore. We can at least talk to each other. So here's my suggestion.
Oh my God.
I'm going to step out of my usual concept.
Okay.
And I'll offer you both. My usual concept is, in the first talk, I ask you what do you believe and why, and we get from there.
Okay.
In my second talk, we reverse roles. You come up with a topic. You do not tell me the topic before we are live on air. I do not want to have the opportunity to prepare for anything. You pick a topic. I don't care what your topic is, and you come back to me for the next show.
Okay. Yeah. Let's do it. I think that would be great.
Okay. I'll step out my usual format and I make you another offer. This one we're going to do. That's going to be the next talk that we're going to have. After that, I want to have a couple of more talks with you. Because I still think we can get somewhere.
Okay. Hey, isn't that our end goal? Don't. And here's kind of one thing, Peter. I'm with our talks. My goal isn't to win an argument. That's really not to win an argument. My goal is to.
I agree.
I really want you to just see Christ's love. And that's it can be so difficult.
I'll give you every opportunity to convince me, and I'm honest in that. And my goal. Okay, sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, it's difficult because it's not fully two-way. My goal is just to make people think. maybe think about their own convictions, maybe think about other stuff that comes up during these talks. That's my goal. That's why, and we called it Mind the Gap for several reasons. One, to acknowledge that we still have a gap between Christians and atheists. We have a couple of completely hateful Christians in the live chat at the moment. Christians I have encountered myself.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has come on my channel, and I'll name a name. Stephanie Thomason is a
She loves
hateful
it.
is a hateful person.
Well,
She has called me the enemy in public. So I'm going to
hey,
take that. So I'm going to take that until she comes back to me, apologizes, and wants to sit down for a talk.
okay. Hey, Peter.
Until then, I completely discard her as a human being decent enough to talk to.
Hey, I'm not going to
But
support her, but I will say, hey, man, we've talked. You got to,
yeah,
and also at the same time, I would like to kind of have some clarification for Stephanie. She's not here to defend herself on any of that, and I
she
want to
can
say something.
defend. Yeah, but she can come on and
Yeah,
defend
defend
herself
herself.
anytime. The invitation is open. She can come on.
I do want to point out though where she comes from. There have been times that she's had people uh, really that are from Twitter, and you and I talked off there a little bit about how it's
Yes,
just obtuse of people to do that. Terrible. So
I
you
agree.
a little bit of grace. Stephanie's got all the grace in the world. I bet you dime to donut. She would love to sit down with you, chit chat, but she
No,
really
she
does love
doesn't.
you, Pete.
No, she
Yeah,
doesn't.
she will.
No, she
Just watch.
doesn't.
Oh, you watch, bud.
She
You watch.
refused. My offer is still open. She refused. I'm not going to force her. She called me after she refused to sit down and talk. She called me the enemy.
Okay.
She had someone do a video about me with her information. I don't care. She can come to me and she can apologize for the things she did live on YouTube, and
Okay.
then we can talk.
Well,
No
let's see a little
problem.
bit of that Chris love that comes through, right, man? I'm with you on that. No better way to show Christ than through love and forgiveness, right? I mean, that
Yes.
would be the do. Yeah. It'd be phenomenal. Um, as far as like our future conversations go, Peter, one thing I don't want to be able to. I'm not a big guy. I'm putting people on the spot. That's okay to a degree in these conversations, but our topics, I would like to be able to give you the topic ahead of time so you can sit down and really get your thoughts together. Um,
Yeah, but I don't
debate.
want that. I don't want that.
Oh,
We can do that. We can do that
okay,
in later conversations. That would be fine.
cool.
For
Okay,
the
I'm with you.
for the next show, it's um to me it's also useful. I need to think on my feet, and um if I have to answer, I have to answer the way I am. If I'm going to prepare, I could mm, um, um, uh, I could muddle my thoughts by having different information and putting something different into it. That's why I don't want the topic up front.
Okay. My
I
my
want to
advice
be
on
as if you ask me a question, because be and I don't get the chance to prepare for an answer, you get the most honest answer.
but it may not be the right answer though. That's kind of the point is a lot of
But
our
it's not. But it's
instinctual replies tend to be the wrong ones.
yeah.
And
But
I
it's
don't
not.
want
It's not about right or wrong, Nick. It's not about right or wrong. It's about honesty.
to yeah,
If I give you a wrong answer,
true.
then the answer may be wrong, but I'm honest in giving you that answer. And that's what I care about. I care about honesty. I hate
I'm
liars.
100 but and I guess being able to give you the time to come up with a well thought out. That's the most honest reply. That's, you know, a lot of the times, like you get heated and things kind of bounce back and forth. Well, just because you say something in passion doesn't really mean that's who you are. It meant that you were a pissed off person at the time, and that was a reply to it. But that's not the core.
But I rarely
I,
get
I guess, but
I rarely get pissed. I rarely get pissed off. I get a little bit heated, but I rarely get pissed off. I'm usually still calm underneath, and I can still think straight. And I'm I'll have to go back and to listen to all my conversations, but I don't think that I ever said something that I later regretted or wasn't true.
oh, Peter, my workout is MMA is what I enjoy to do. So tell me about. That's where I let my heat zip out is out on the mat there. So I can follow along with you on getting angry and whatnot. But it can be a good thing sometimes. But it's always good to have an outlet that isn't necessarily in a conversation like this. I always do my best to restrain. You know, number one, I really don't want to piss anybody off to the point that offends is because of something that I did that wasn't true. You know what I mean? Anyways, Peter, we can keep talking here. I'm coming into the lowlands though.
Yeah, well, I think we need to wrap it up, because if we want people to watch this, we shouldn't go in a lot longer than we already have, because if people are looking at a conversation and it takes 3 hours, they're already uh cutting out.
We're
Um
gone with the wind timing.
and I would rather have people listen to the conversation, but I think, because I think we had a meaningful conversation. um I
Well,
hope
let's
I
wrap it
hope
up.
yeah, I hope you'll listen back to it and to listen to some of the points, um and maybe think about those,
Okay.
because, as I said, I still think that we can get somewhere, and I'm looking forward to having a conversation on a topic of your choice, without knowing it, and maybe we can throw in a couple more, because you're one of my oldest enemies on Twitter, and in this case, enemy used to mean something completely different.
You're
But
not my enemy, bud.
we have a lot of stuff that we didn't cover today that we may want to touch on in future conversations, and I would love to touch on those in future conversations. And so, one of our goals with Mind the Gap is trying to close it and maybe reduce some of the animosity. And so, and that's why I despise uh, certain actions, like the video that was done on me, uh, and that Stephanie participated in. That doesn't help anyone.
Okay.
It's
Well,
just causing more hate. It's just causing more aggravation, and that's not something that I would want to do.
okay.
That
Well,
was that was a personal attack, by the way, and it wasn't about ideas.
okay.
I will attack you about ideas. So far, I have no reason for a personal attack, and I have had no reason for a personal attack to anyone who has ever come on our channel.
Okay. Well, that's good. That's good. I think we're both wanting to put our eggs in the basket of love here, right?
Yeah, I mean, what we can do is, we can have meaningful conversations, and if people who, like you and me, have fought this hard on Twitter, and we can have meaningful conversations and we can continue them, then at least there's hope for humanity.
But
You're cutting out.
I'd love to keep talking with
You're cutting out, Nick.
Oh, I was saying we should wrap it up for the listeners, but if you'd like to keep talking, I got about another hour of a drive ahead of me. If you're getting sleepy, no worries there, but I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Okay, me too. So I'll close it down. Hang on. Just keep stay in the hangout. I want to thank everyone who came on and participated in the live chat. A shout out, as usual, to my moderator, Beach Price. And I have a new moderator as well, Brian Stevens. Thank you guys for keeping an eye on the chat for me. And um, they have moderated a few people in there. So I think all's good. We need to keep things civil, and I trust these two people to keep an eye out. We're going to continue our talk a little bit offline, but not to wear you out. So we'll get back with a new topic next time. Thanks all for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do, and see all of you the next time. And that would be tomorrow. So tune in. We have a very special guest tomorrow. See you all later. Bye bye.